Hello and welcome to The Fit Mess. My name is Jeremy and I am your host today and most days, pretty much all the days. So thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. The Fit Mess is the show where we talk about AI as it relates to your mental health, your spiritual health, your emotional health, and sometimes your relationships and how you interact with other human beings. Today is one of those days. That's what we're going to talk about with my guest. His name is Alex Sanfilippo. He's the big brain behind PodMatch.com. And if you are a podcaster, you have heard of PodMatch.com. If you're a podcaster who has not heard of PodMatch.com, then where have you been? It's a big deal. If you're looking for guests and such, that's the place to go. He's not here to promote that, though. He's here because he posted something on his social media feed the other day that I found incredibly interesting. And it had to do with how we're using AI to interact with each other. Many of us, me, hand raised, are using it to craft emails, to be able to reach out to people with the words that we want to use to communicate a mission. It's something we need to happen. Some of us are using it to just blindly spray and pray to lots of people with nonsense that's not relatable at all to the recipient. And he finds that pretty offensive, if I can put words in his mouth. And so I wanted to talk to him about it because I do use AI as a human interaction tool. It's something that I use to craft. When I can't find the words that I want and I want to polish it, I want to make it a little more professional, maybe a little more empathetic than I'm particularly feeling toward that person at that moment. I'm going to use the AI to find the words that I can't find in that moment. But is that wrong? Right? I mean, maybe we shouldn't be using robots to communicate with each other, although I'm pretty sure that's the future. We should get on board and get with it. But maybe it's not best. Maybe we should be a little more thoughtful and a little bit more messy with our communication with each other, because when we do, if all of our interactions are over email and then we do finally meet somebody in person and the voice doesn't match the relationship that I've built online, it's not going to end well for that relationship. So I asked Alex to join me to defend his position because it's going to be a very contested, heated debate. No, it's not. It's going to be a fun, lighthearted conversation, but it's one that I think is an important one to be having as AI becomes a bigger and bigger piece of all of our lives. So here now is my conversation with Alex Sanfilippo from PodMatch.com. Well, let's start with the conversation. You posted an interesting comment on Facebook on your account a short time ago. We're talking so much about, everybody's talking about AI these days, but I thought it was interesting that your take on AI when it comes to human communication, you draw the line there. Like that is a no-go for you. Tell me what sort of led to this post and sort of what the gist of the post was.
Yeah, so it was probably, I think I posted out of frustration, if I can just be real, Jeremy. Like, I think I was just frustrated. And I tried not to make that known in the post. And I think I kept it pretty nice. And I posted on all platforms. But I was just like, man, there's gotta be some human element to this thing, right? And I think it was just one of those days where I had so many emails come in and it was people gushing about how I'm a beacon of light, right? And I'm like, glad you got that, right? But I'm like, what do those words mean? And I got so many of them, and they went from it was a pitch to be on my podcast, it was a collaboration opportunity, and all these different things. And I'm just like, I'm reading it, and I'm a person who I really appreciate kind words, and maybe words of gratification, like one of my love languages. Like if you ever go back to that 5 love language thing, maybe that's one of them. And so when I know it's not human, I just tend to roll my eyes at it. It's more frustrating than anything else. I'm like, I know that this isn't real. I appreciate what you're trying to say, but you're not saying it. So why don't I'd be much happier if you just said it to me, right? And if it wasn't as elegant or anything like that. So
right.
I posted out of this place of frustration. I think, Jeremy, it's kind of like where it came from.
So what's interesting about it though is so much of it is a language tool. And so if it's not used for communication, where do you see positive use of AI?
Yeah, I like that you bring that up. Because that is ultimately what it's about. And so for me, it's if I do get stuck on something, right? Or English is my only language, but I'm not great at it. So when there's a word that can be spelt 3 different ways, that's when I'll go to AI, because I used to use Google for that. And it's funny because I feel like Google and other search engines, they never would really be helpful. It's like, okay, there's still, you've got to listen, you say this or this. I'm like, no, there's no this or this, right? And AI has done a very good job of saying, hey, in that context, this is what you should do. So it's been very quick to get me unstuck with things like that. Or if I feel like I'm being too wordy, I can go in and say, hey, is there a way I can shorten this up a little bit? Here's what I'm trying to say. And the thing is, I never copy paste it. I'll always be like, ooh, that's good, and change it to be the way that I want it. I think it's great for that. It's really good for us podcasters, like transcripts and stuff like that. I mean, I used to have someone on my team who literally would type up a transcript for the podcast episodes because that was
Oh my
that was
God.
the way to do it. I mean, we're going back a while now, right? But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that was how you did it, and we really wanted to be accessible because I don't know, this is still kind of strange to me, but we had people that were consuming our podcasts that were deaf, but they were very interested in podcasting, and I was like, oh well, that's fascinating. Like you're interested in an audio platform, right? I'm like, what do we do
Right.
here? And so we
Right.
hired someone. I can still remember the number. We were spending just under $16,000 a year to have this person doing the transcription. And as soon as AI came out, I mean, faster and, in all honesty, more accurate at times. So it was like, man,
Wow.
that's a great use case for something like that. And then I think developmental, like from a developmental level, like with coding and stuff like that, is brilliant. So my co-founder Jesse, he uses it, I mean, all the time. And often it's just for him to brainstorm. Because when we started this, he's like, one thing I'll miss is I had a team of other developers I worked with. And when we first started, it was before AI was a thing. And he's like, I'm alone now. He's like, so I workshop with a whiteboard. And like as soon as AI started getting smart enough to kind of keep up with him in some ways, he felt like he had this thing to bounce ideas off of. And apparently he says it is absolutely phenomenal for that. So those are some ways to do it. And listen, I get that not everyone is a writer necessarily or like a speaker. And that's okay, but I do think at some point you're shorting yourself if you're not learning to develop that skill and you're just saying, AI, do it for me. Like you don't grow by doing that, right? I don't know if you remember this, Jeremy, but this was like, the best example I gave is like 20, maybe it was like 20 years ago. There was those TV commercials for like this thing you'd put on your abs.
Oh, the ab flex.
And it gets you jacked overnight,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
it just gets you shredded. I don't know if it worked, but in my mind, it's like, hey, we're going to get you jacked, but you're not going to do the work. I don't.
Yep.
I imagine it didn't work, but maybe it did, Jeremy. I don't know if you were an early investor in it or anything like that. Nice here.
You can tell by my background the millions that I've made off the ad flex. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm rambling here a little bit, but the point is, I think there are very good use cases for it. And I think that a friend in podcasting said it really well. It's not a matter of if we are going to use AI, it's how we're going to use it. And I think that all of us need to hit the point where we embrace it, but we find where our conviction begins and we don't let AI infiltrate past that point.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, a couple things about it that stand out from what you're saying. And one is the idea that, so much of technology, I feel in the last 25-ish years has been an effort to try to make the world a more social place, but has sort of done it backwards and the opposite result has occurred. And I think this is another giant step in that direction. Because I mean, I do use AI for emails, primarily work emails. Like if I'm writing to a friend, I don't need, my words turned into something that will be, well received on their end. But if I'm writing to a customer, I might need to find the right way to professionally, empathetically say what I need to say. Because a lot of times, especially in a business relationship, you might be operating from a position of anger or frustration. And you don't want to come across as, hey, we're going to just drop the hammer on you if you don't get your act together. But if that's where you're starting emotionally, you can dump that into AI and say, hey, make this a little softer. Make this what I mean for it to be. And I find a lot of times I'm just like, man, if I got this email, I probably would respond and would probably respond appropriately. And so for me, it's been really helpful in trying to find what I'm trying to say without the emotion. And that's one of the brilliant things about it for me. I don't know what your thoughts
I agree with that. I think that I like that use case, but what I imagine you do is you probably read what it says. I think that if I can go back to my frustration when I was posting about it, and by the way, for listeners, what I posted was basically like, what are we even doing here, right? Like, why is there a human even writing this at this point if we're not gonna, if we're just gonna go back and forth with our AI tools, right? I could tell that the individuals who were saying this, they didn't even read it. They said, write me something for Alex. I want to collaborate with them. Send. And it's like, man, like there's just, it lacked the depth. Right. So, Jeremy, if you're like, hey, here's what I want to say, I don't want to be rude, I don't want to be mean, you're adding depth to it. And the thing is, it is great at articulating, right? And especially if you go back and read it, and I'm sure that you massage it a little bit. You're like, listen, like, I don't need to use these words, right?
Right,
like,
right. We don't need to delve into this deep and empathetic topic today.
Right. Exactly. So for me, it's just the spray and pray method, where it's like, just write this and I'll collaborate with this individual. And as podcast host, I can't imagine how many pitches you're getting for people, because you have a very good show here. I can't imagine how many people are wanting to be on your show, and you're getting the same thing from everybody. It just has zero depth. You can tell they don't know anything about it. They sent the same email to 100 people, and the AI just changed the name and the podcast title, right? Like,
yeah. There's so that, and the old fashioned, hey, podcast superstar, like instead of like even using your, like they didn't even bother to find your name, right? Even pre AI, and now they're all literally just.
Did that work for anybody ever? They're like, wow, I am a superstar. Like, did that ever work? I don't know.
Never. Okay, so I do want to nerd out on podcasting a little bit because this is a podcast. There's probably some podcasters listening. What are some use cases you see within the podcasting space that are effective in using AI?
There's so many of them. The first thing, I'll just kind of start from the top of a podcast. The titles and descriptions for your episodes, it is great for that. And again, I always tell people, like, go through and make sure it comes out good, because sometimes it doesn't, but it can do all the keyword research you need to do. And if we go back to 2019, let's say, like I'm going a while back, like if you just use the right words in a title and description of a podcast, like it's almost guaranteed it was going to get listenership, because most people just weren't doing that. Like if you name this episode a conversation with Alex Sanfilippo, which is what we were doing in 2019, no one can spell it, no one can say it, no one knows what that means or who Alex is, right? Like, but like the thing is, if you go to AI and be like, hey, this is what we talked about, and I really think that these are important keywords for it, it's going to write you a really good title and description that's going to make a person say, that's what I want to hear. Yeah. Beyond that, there's a transcription side of things, which I think is great. And even some of the interview prep, I think is becoming really exciting. Now, I don't think it should do it for you, because if you remove the human voice of what we're having going on right now, Jeremy, like there's no point in listening. Like it's got to have a lot of depth. That's one of the beauties of podcasting. And so for me, like I've been really big on that side of things, helping me with my research so I can get focused on where we want it to go. And that's one of the big things I use it for now.
Okay, I want to show you this, because the fact that you said that is incredibly ironic, because before every episode, I run a bunch of stuff through Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT, whatever. But I've found that I'm almost always ignoring almost everything that I get as a result, but it just helps me think about where do I want this conversation to go. Like I've got 2 different pages of how I prepped for this interview. I have literally not looked at either. I've got notes above the screen I have not looked at once since we started talking, and we're 10 minutes in, because I've always just been a believer in organic conversation is always going to be more interesting than whatever I've prepped for anyways. But I just want you to see some of what it came up with. Let me just find this here.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely curious. And by the way, I think that I didn't even hit on this earlier, but I think you just said it, Jeremy. What the biggest thing AI does for me is gets me unstuck. Like I can go back to my days of being in school. Like everyone's like the first sentence, the first paragraph, the first chapter, like that's the hardest thing to write. And it is because you're stuck. And all it does, it often, give you 5 results. I'm like, no, these all suck, right? I'm like, but it gave me an idea, and now I can move forward. So
exactly, just getting that blank page. But yeah, so I just was like, I took your post and just said, hey, prepare a line of questions that take people on a journey of using AI. And the answer, if I had gone with the script, Alex, thank you for joining us. Your recent Facebook post about AI and direct human communication really resonated with a lot of people. You wrote blah, blah, blah. Like if I read these questions verbatim, you would be sitting there dying right now. And you're like, really? Like, why didn't you just have the robot do the interview? This is horrible. So,
you read that second one. Hold on. Everyone's got to hear that. That second one, just the start of it's perfect.
You used a fantastic analogy mentioning Cyrano de Bergerac in real life. For those unfamiliar, it's a story where someone else crafts beautiful words for another to woo someone. Can you elaborate on why that comparison feels so apt for you when you encounter AI generated messages?
Man,
like you would just be sitting there going like, what are you talking about?
Right?
You're an idiot. Why did I join this podcast? So then I took it and I went, okay, clearly I'm not going to read this nonsense. And I went, just give me some bullet points, like dumb this down for me, make it really simple. So here's kind of a guide of the same ideas, which some of them were relevant, pasted those on, but because I've now read all of those questions and read these bullet points, I went, okay, I've got an idea of where I want this to go. But inevitably, you say something interesting. I'm a human being. I respond to what you said, and hopefully what I say is interesting, and the conversation just goes from there.
Yeah, I think that, you did a great job like massaging this down to where it makes sense, but also, like you said, like, you got to follow the direction of the conversation, man. I think back, this was a conversation I listened to probably I'm like always dating myself. I don't know why I'm doing this. In the 2010s at some point, but I heard a podcast and the guest was like a Hall of Fame baseball player. And he said there was one thing that happened that day that caused us to win that game. And the host goes, wow, that's amazing. So I wanted to ask you about your childhood. I was like, I literally paused it. I was out for a walk. I paused and stopped. I went back. I'm like, did I miss it? And I'm like, this idiot wasn't even listening to the guest. He just has his list of questions. Yeah. And I think that if we aren't present in our interviews, that's what we miss. I actually really wanted to know what caused that day to become a win versus a loss.
Right. That's the only reason anybody was listening to that conversation.
Right?
Oh my God.
That's the thing. If we get married to our questions, whether we make them or not, like that's not how conversations work, right? You can in a real life conversation, if we were sitting face to face, you can tell if I'm listening to you to respond or listening to you to learn. And there is a very, very big difference.
Yeah, yeah. So you are using some AI in PodMatch. You're using it to develop some tools. I've been a big fan of PodMatch forever. I've been on it for a long time. When I'm not using guests, I still get tons of emails from people saying, "Hey, through PodMatch, saying, hey, let's connect on this." How are you guys using it without revealing any trade secrets within the platform itself?
Yeah, sure. I'm an open book with this stuff. For anyone listening who has no idea what PodMatch is, it's a service that connects podcast guests and hosts for interviews. It works really similar to a dating app, but instead of connecting people for dates, it connects people for podcast interviews, like us here today. We actually were messaging back and forth in PodMatch to get the schedule and stuff. So that was the whole idea around it. The first one we use is in the matching. It's interesting. We've been using AI since 2020. We built like a miniature version of an AI. It wasn't like generative AI like we see today, but it was to help with the matching algorithm. Like we wanted something to get more intelligent over time, understand the behavior of people. And so we built it. We initially had on our homepage AI matching. And it's funny, Jeremy, back then, no one liked that. People were like, that sounds like Terminator 2. I saw that movie. I'm not going to be on that platform. So we just changed it to be like matching podcast guests and hosts. And now it's funny. If we put that on there now, people will be like, whoa, AI, right?
Right. Look at you. You're ahead of the curve. Yeah.
So we use it for that. Beyond that, we use it for to show a match alignment. So on the profile, like if I'm on your profile for your podcast, there's a button that says match alignment. It'll say, hey, Alex, here's how you and Jeremy, this is where you all kind of align on some things. This is how you can really serve really well together when it comes to listeners. Personally, that's my favorite thing we have, because that can tell me, is there actually some true value it can add to people who are listening? And then beyond that, for the host, we give some ideas of direction for the interview, some possible interview questions, and like a big takeaway. And for the guest, it's what the host wants, what the guest wants. Sorry, what the host wants, what the listeners want, and then like the big takeaway. And we keep it pretty short. We don't do too much because we don't want to turn hosts and guests into machines, right? We want people to leave room for creativity. The idea is to give them an idea, a direction that would be really unique to that specific audience to serve them well. And those are some of the ways that we use it. Beyond that, we use it for transcripts. We use it for certain types of blog posts. If it's like an episode blog post where we don't go into a whole lot of detail, like I love writing. I still enjoy writing blog posts. So if there's one that's like actually something I'm sharing and beyond like a podcast episode, it's me. But yeah, we use it for things like that. And I'll tell you what, we have 3 less staff members than we had when we started with AI, going back just the last 2 years.
So it is coming to take our jobs. It's true. It's really happening.
It depends, I guess. It depends on like what people are doing. So for us, that was like the content people, I guess. So yeah.
Right.
And the reality is they were all like part-time contract people. So I don't think there was any, they left on good terms. So
good.
Yeah.
No worries. I am curious, do you use it? I mean, we talked a little bit about like writing, obviously, but do you use it in other ways? Like one example that has come up frequently in the short time we've been doing the show in this way is using it as a therapy tool. Like people will like, and I've done this when I've been in bad times. I'll just open my heart to AI and get all kinds of great perspective and ideas. Do you use it in any sort of unconventional way that maybe people don't think of?
Yeah, I use it. I use it to help me with like my nutrition and fitness, actually.
Okay, I was curious because you're a fit dude. I was going to ask you if there was any AI in there.
I don't know. I really enjoyed your episode with Dr. Ajit.
Oh yeah,
that was really good. And by the way, for anyone who wants a good laugh, like it came. I wrote this down because I want to make sure I mention this. But go back to the episode on May 21st, 2025. It's called "When You Should Trust a Machine with Your Life." Super, super good. Like a really great informative episode and absolutely hysterical. So
well,
I had a blast listening to it. I'll probably go listen to it again. But basically, I use Grok for this. So that's X's AI tool. I just found that it seemed to, I don't know why, but for some reason that one seemed to give me information that I most trusted. And I understand health and nutrition fairly well. But basically what I've kind of designed it to do is I showed it everything that I do, right? Like here's how I work out, here's how I eat. I'm very regimented with all this. And here's like my goals, and I want to help get me there. But also, I fed it. Have you ever heard of 10X Health? Are you familiar with that organization?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my wife and I, we did the 10X Health, the whole deal. So we got like, I think it's like 700 pages of reports. Wow. And like, in all honesty, like I'm never going to go through that. No. Like it's cool they sent to me, but I was like, I wonder if Grok could read all this.
I was going to say, dump it in and summarize. Yep.
Sure enough, I sent it to it and I said, okay, when I'm making changes based off what we learned from this, tell me if it's a good or bad move. And it turns out I was doing a handful of things where it's like, hey, you really shouldn't eat this because your body doesn't digest it very well, according to page number, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, that is perfect. That's what I wanted. Yep. And so for me, I've actually seen my fitness, my energy, even my sleep like all those things have improved since I've used this basically as a weekly check-in assistant. And
That's amazing.
kind of a game changer. I'll be real. Like I feel like I have somebody who knows everything about me,
Yeah.
critiquing every move, and that's exactly what I want.
That's really cool. I've been experimenting with, like I've never found a nutrition tracker that I like or that I can stick with for more than a few days, but it's so interesting to be able to just, and I know there's so many tools that are close with just being able to take a picture and analyze it and tell you exactly what's in there and, break down all the macros and all that. But for now, you can literally just keep a journal, like a Gemini screen open all day and go like, I'm eating a bowl of cereal and, whatever, and just keep a log. And then at the end, go analyze this for macronutrients, calories. And, I also did this workout today. Where am I? And it literally can be your calorie tracker and your macro tracker just by keeping a page open all day, rather than like trying to find in the scroll of 1,000 food items. Oh, it's not quite that one, but that's close. Like that's been really interesting to use it in that way to see, if it can help me sort of meet my goals in that way.
I think it's a great use case for it. Another example is my wife does the same thing. So she kind of built out the same exact model. She goes to F45, which is like a functional fitness group training type of thing.
Okay.
And so she goes that every day. Well, it's like the regular fitness trackers are asking like, how many calories did you burn? She's like, well, I don't know. And it's like, well, tell us about the workout. She's like, I did like 75 movements in 45 minutes, right? Like,
right.
And so what she's able to do is she goes to something like Grok and uses deep search and says, hey, here was the name of the workout I did at F45. Somebody has posted it somewhere, and typically it'd say, based off of what we know about you and the workout, because we know what it is, this is what you just burned. And it's like, man, instead of guessing, taking 20 minutes to log it, it was like the press of a button now. And so she's able to see if she's hitting that goal she has every day.
Well,
again,
and job replacement.
I just shared. I think that's a great use case to have this thing as a personal assistant for you from a health nutritional standpoint.
And personal trainer, like you don't even need the personal trainer anymore. Like I have an app that tells me exactly what to lift and when to lift it and how often to lift it. And then I combine that with telling the other machine what I ate today. And once all of those things are combined, and I'm telling you, I think that the ability, like my Aura Ring, I can now take a picture and it'll analyze, what I ate. It won't break down calories and macros, but it'll tell you sort of timing in terms of what you ate and when and how it's going to affect your sleep. But once they can take a picture of that thing and go, this is what's in there, all of a sudden tracking is mindless. Like you don't have to scroll and find the thing. It's just boom, picture. And then you're realizing, oh, I ate 14 times today. Maybe that was my problem. Perhaps I didn't need 14 meals.
The 2 bags of chips and the 2 movies. It seems like that's not good for you. Who would have known?
Well, now that AI is here, all of our questions are answered. It's
Thank
amazing.
God. Actually, I do still have a personal trainer, and I think I always will. Like it's the kick in the butt that I need. Like today, I was doing RDLs and I wasn't quite getting like the extension I need to, and she just literally walked up behind me and goes boop and like kicked my knee a little bit, and she's like, you need to be more like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if a machine ever gets to that point where it's like, hey, you were close, but hold on, let's get you to do this instead.
The robot trainers might. Once we have them,
let's see.
We'll be set.
It's getting a little too iRobot. Is that what that's called? Will Smith?
Yeah.
It's getting a little too. I don't know, man. We'll see.
Yeah, that and the one thing that I don't know if AI will ever truly be able to do is be the accountability partner that personal trainer is, right? Like whether it's you're paying money for them or just you're in front of them and you have to show up and be accountable for your actions.
Right.
I don't know that the robots are ever going to care enough to be the accountability partner we need.
Very true.
Cool. Alex, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you making time. I know you're a super busy guy, so this really means a lot. Where can we learn more about you and PodMatch?
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me. This was a lot of fun. I've actually never gotten to talk about this or be on a podcast like this one. So this is really cool. And as someone who's listened to it, man, I really appreciate what you're doing. So
thank you. That means a lot.
Today. For anyone who wants to see more about me, podmatch.com/free. It's all podcasting. So if you're not interested in podcasting, no worries. But if you are, it can show you talk to you about being a guest, a host, or aspiring guest or host where I might be, and that's just podmatch.com/free. But Jeremy, I really appreciate what you and Jason do here, man. And some really cool work here.
Thank you so much, man. That coming from you, that especially really means a lot. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
There you have it. Alex Sanfilippo, really cool dude. His website, as he just said, podmatch.com/free. Check that out if you are a podcaster and you're looking for guests, you're looking to collaborate, you're looking to grow your podcasting community. That is the place I recommend a lot of podcasters to. And I recommend it to you as well. So check that out and check out his podcast. He has a great one as well. It is linked in the show notes for this episode, and you can find those at thefitmess.com. And that's where you're going to find another episode from us in just a few days. Again, thefitmess.com. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you then.
We know this podcast is amazing and it doesn't seem to lack anything, but we need a legal disclaimer. Prior to implementing anything discussed in this podcast, it is your responsibility to conduct your own research and consult your physician. You should assume that these knuckleheads don't know what they're talking about, and they're not liable for any physical or emotional issues that occur directly or indirectly from listening to this podcast.